Awesome. All right, let's get started. So again, this is Reentry Spanning Supports the Bidders Conference. Thank you all for joining us. We wanted to do welcome and introductions, and I wanted to go ahead and start just so you all know. Again, my name is Zaire Lauren. My pronouns are they, them. I am the program manager for Reentry Spanning Supports, and I work for King County. If you all could do your names, your pronouns, and the organization you're calling in with, that would be great. Anybody want to start us off?
This is Olivet Foster, Spokane in Seattle.
Thank you.
This
Kelly
is
Kinzel from Youth Care, she, her.
Awesome.
I am Sabrina Ford from Restore and Repair Outreach.
Welcome, welcome.
I am Earl Hunter from the Washington State Department of Veterans Affairs.
Fantastic.
This is Suma Mondal, she, her. I go by she, her, and I'm from Sound Generations.
Welcome.
Hi, Suma. This is Kara Lauer, she, her from Queen Anne Helpline.
Welcome.
This is Ann Beasley, she, her, and the Y Social Impact Center.
Welcome.
Anna Moffat, she, her, Pacific Associates.
Welcome.
Andre Anderson, she, her, the IF Project.
Awesome.
Kadra Sheikh, she, her, arms around you.
Welcome.
This is Leslie Horton, she, her pronouns, and I'm from the YMCA Social Impact Center.
Awesome.
Jess Rock, she, her pronouns, and I'm with Community Passageways.
Awesome.
This is Min Song, Pioneer Human Services. My pronouns are she, her.
Welcome.
This is Barbara Miller. I'm with the Downtown Emergency Service Center, DESC.
Welcome.
My name is Marvin Marshall, and I'm the director of Alive and Free.
Welcome.
This is Jan Ballo. I'm she, her, and I'm with the Seattle Clemency Project.
Welcome. And if folks who are not speaking can mute their lines, that would be awesome.
This is Selena Simon. I'm with the Y Social Impact Center as well.
Welcome.
This is David Watkins, he, him with a new.
Welcome.
Hi, this is Kiki Elfendahl, she, her with Freedom Project.
Awesome. Anyone else?
Can you hear me?
I can.
Okay. My name is David Hepard, he, him, also from the Freedom Project.
Awesome.
This is Kirsten Higgins, she, her, from Green River College.
Awesome.
Orlando Haynes, he, him, Freedom Project.
Awesome. All right. So this is, I am new to the county, and so a few things about this presentation. One, this will be my first bidders conference, so I'm looking forward to all the questions you all have and to going through this presentation. The presentation is basically the RFP, so some things will be repetitive according to the RFP. I'm not going to spend a billion years going through the presentation because I want to open up time for questions. The second thing is Shannon Perez is on the line as well, and I'm going to ask my DCHS colleagues to introduce themselves in 1 second. But just so folks know, Shannon is in part on the line to help me out with this presentation. She is a more veteran colleague in our office, and so if I get things wrong, Shannon might jump in to help, and I may also call on her to help me answer questions. So to my DCHS folks on the line, can you all introduce yourselves?
Hi, yes, this is Shannon Perez-Starby, and I am with the previously named Vulnerable Populations, newly named Resilient Communities team, here with Zaire.
Hi, my name is Maria Pintar. My pronouns are she, her, hers, and I'm also new on the team with Zaire and Shannon, and my title is Resilient Communities Program Manager. Thank you.
All right, cool. Let's get started. Okay, so VSHSL structure. This strategy is a part of a 6-year levy. We've got about 55 to 65 million annually. We have 3 priority populations: veterans, service members and their families, seniors and their caregivers, as well as vulnerable populations / resilient communities. And again, we've been named vulnerable populations since well before I got here, but we are changing our name to resilient communities hopefully soon. There are 5 result areas for our 3 populations. So this levy seeks to make impact around housing stability, financial stability, social engagement, healthy living, and system access and improvement. Communication, this one's a big one. I cannot answer most questions. If you email me or call me, I'm not going to be able to just answer general questions about this RFP. All questions asked at the bidders conference, which we are at now, and received in writing will be compiled and posted in the library tab on the Zoom Grants portal. I'm not sure exactly what date I'll do that, but I believe the last day to ask questions is the 27th or something like that. So all your questions and answers will be posted in the library tab closer to that date. Technical assistance, this is another big one, particularly for our smaller organizations on the phone. Y'all, this is free technical assistance. So there are 6 consulting folks that are listed here. If you need help with this application, reach out to them directly. Email them or call them. We really want folks to take advantage of this because we know that bigger organizations have more capacity just to do things like write grants. And we want the smaller orgs to be able to apply as well and not have it be such a hurdle. So the requirements are only that you have fewer than 20 FTEs and less than 4 million in operating budget for the prior fiscal year. Reach out to one of these folks. They're all great and very kind. Commitment to equity and social justice. King County has the ESJ program and is committed to the equity and social justice framework, and that is embedded as a core principle of this RFP. Vision for the RFP. The vision for the RFP is very simple. We'd like to fund reentry initiatives led by community that meet people where they are geographically and culturally, and that provide a tailored combination of services so that folks feel seen and supported and taken care of in community. A critical component of that is that we intend to fund Black-led reentry initiatives that are conceived by folks in community. Scope of work, provide a suite of services that'll support the reentry of persons in King County, use flexible funds that are built into the RFP to help meet needs of reentering people. Flexible funds, that meets, basic needs, clothes, bus passes, things like that. Helping folks with system advocacy. A lot of times folks coming home have issues paying legal fines and fees or getting licenses, etc. Also, we would like to utilize folks in community who have experience with reentry to support other folks who are coming home in the pursuit of their goals and elevation of their leadership. Employ culturally and linguistically competent staff with the experiences and community relationships to effectively center the priority populations, which are Black folks and folks from the African diaspora. And so linguistically, we would hope that if you are working in a community that has folks who speak a language from the continent, that you have folks in there who also are fluent and are able to help people navigate in their home language. Eligibility, open to nonprofit orgs, community-based orgs serving Black communities in King County. Following qualifications, you have experience working within Black communities. Demonstrated experience working with formerly incarcerated individuals within Black communities. Record of Black leadership within applicant's organization. Work with or demonstrated willingness to build the capacity to work with program participants through King County. And of course, submitting the application. Up to $1,165,000 is available for the program period. The program period is from October 1st to December 31st, 2023. Because of COVID, a lot of things have been moved around, shifted, and so the date subject to change is important because, you know, who knows? This is solid for now, but we want to be flexible with the dates. Eligible uses of funds include, but are not limited to. The but are not limited to is important to me, particularly as a program manager, because these are just, you know, within the realm of what community has told us that folks need. But we understand community, especially folks who are experiencing coming home, know best what they would need. So it's not limited to this list. We included it because these are just some of the things we've heard. So employment and training, organizational costs such as data generation, outreach, supervision, costs associated with basic needs, costs associated with tuition and materials necessary to fulfill requirements under the scope of work. Technical assistance funds, once again, are available to smaller organizations. Budget. So part of the application is developing and submitting a 12-month budget. So we want folks to really think holistically about the costs associated with your proposed program model. The budget should be an estimate and should include anticipated startup costs as well as the cost of maintaining the proposed program model throughout the course of this award. So the course of this award is, of course, longer than 12 months. But we want folks to think about what their first 12 months would look like in relationship to the overall program in the next three and a half, 4 years. Organizational equity chart is a required portion of the application. Do your best to completely and accurately complete the chart. It's on a tab, one of the tabs in Zoom Grants. We ask that you're mindful of using the language people use to identify themselves. If your staff, leadership, or board are not comfortable for any reason in providing this information, please reflect that in the field marked unknown. And so that's, you know, a variety of different situations. For me, identifying along a trans spectrum, maybe I wouldn't want people to identify me on their roster as such. For someone maybe coming home, maybe they don't want somebody identifying them as such. For many different categories, some people are great with being identified and some folks not so much. So we just ask folks to check in and with themselves and with folks in the organization to make sure if you're identifying people, they're good with that. And if you are identifying them, you use the language that they use for themselves. Contract requirements. Evaluation. King County will work with programs to develop an evaluation plan. If you've read the RFP, in the RFP it's called the PME plan. P is in Pam, M is in Mary, E is in Elephant, the PME plan. And so we will work with people to develop that plan. While you're not required to submit a detailed, fully developed evaluation plan, we ask that your program model account for the strategy's anticipated core performance measures. And that can be found in the noted page 7, section V. Data collection and reporting. So this again is a part of the PME plan. We'll ask for either individual client level data or aggregate and narrative reports. And a critical part here is that we will not be collecting personally identifiable data that would compromise the anonymity of formerly incarcerated / system engaged people or any people. So when we ask for individual client level data, you know, that's more like you had 35 people under the age of 55. You had 60 people identified as male, 30 identified as female, etc. Timeline, July 9th was the release date, bidders conference today. Final day for small organizations to initiate requests for technical assistance is August 20th. That's important. If you ask one of our 6 TA providers after the 20th about providing TA, it's not going to happen. So the 20th is the deadline. Final day to submit questions via Zoom grants is August 27th. Proposals are due September 3rd. Responses rated and reviewed will be during September and October. Notification of selected and non-selected applicants, October 2020. So that's important. You will get a notification even if you are not selected. Anticipated contract start date, hopefully in October. And if interviews are required, we will let folks know. Interviews may or may not happen, but if they did, it would probably be due to like an extremely close margin in the points of different applications. Review process. So we'll put together a review panel consisting of all kinds of different folks from different places, but the final selection of the awardees will be made by King County Division and Department Directors. Now, they will take our recommendations from the review panel based on equity and geographic considerations, but the final selection will be made by Division and Department Directors. King County Department of Community and Human Services reserves the right to make such selections based on the best interest of King County, and as a result may not select the highest scoring or lowest cost proposals for award, and it will execute contracts based upon the final selections. I think a critical part here is that just because you are the lowest cost does not mean you'll be selected. So don't undercount what you need in terms of money, because just because you cost less might not put you ahead. Zoom grants. All right, Zoom grants is our online system for submitting applications, and you can apply via the link here. All applications will be filled out and submitted via Zoom grants. All grant materials are posted in Zoom grants, and all questions will go to me, and then they'll be compiled and posted in the library tab of Zoom grants. Helpful links. The RFP can be found at this link. Bidders conference recording, Airtable for all strategies if you'd like to see what other strategies are open, and I am the lead on this particular strategy. That's it. How we doing?
So that's it?
That's it. That's the presentation. How are folks doing? Do we have any questions?
Well, I just have one question. Well, I might have another one, but I got one right now. So when it comes to the technical support, is there like a contact phone number for them?
Yes.
Is that going to be via email?
There is. So on the in the actual
RFP.
On Zoom grants. So if you sign up for Zoom grants, there is an application on Zoom grants, and one of the attachments has the full list on it, and that list also gives you a sense of a little bit about each agency, so you'll be able to read a little bit about them.
Okay. Cool. Because I went into the Zoom and signed up for it, so.
I think it's. I can't remember which attachment it is, but it is definitely there.
Okay. And I have a question in regards to when it comes to organizations, because I was hearing you state that one of their area of interest was based upon people who have who can actually understand the criminal justice system as far as for the prison system or whatever have you not, right?
Mm-hmm.
So is that a person that's experienced being incarcerated that can qualify as well? Or, I mean, I think I kind of missed that part.
Absolutely. Folks who have experience being incarcerated and have come home are at the top of the list for the folks we would like to, and type of organizations we would like to fund, because,
Okay.
those folks have the actual experience. They know what it means to come home and have to navigate all these systems, and are, I think, the best situated to help support other people who are coming home.
All right now.
Thank you for that question.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure, because that's what piqued my interest, because I created my own nonprofit organization because I came out the criminal justice system.
Okay.
And I had to overcome a lot of barriers and stuff, and I am African American, not to mention I'm a woman.
Yes,
so
ma'am.
It's been interesting, because I've been kind of trying to help some of the ladies through HBR, which is the work release.
Mm-hmm.
And with this COVID thing that's going on, I noticed a lot of them are having super struggles. So this kind of came at a perfect timing.
Absolutely. Thank you. Appreciate that. So go ahead and email me, and I will send you the all this presentation, so you have everything in one place.
Okay.
Thank you for the question. Does anyone else have any questions?
Can we provide services within the Mailing Regional Justice Center as part of our proposal of services?
Inside the center?
Yes, inside the MRJC.
I can speak to that. We are silent on that question. So as long as is within King County, we haven't had any additional eligibility requirements around within or outside of different facilities.
Thank you. And then clarification on just two funding questions. Are the funds for this RFP specifically from the VETS funding stream of the levy funds, and or is there priority on VETS? Second question around funding is there any leaning towards or against applicants applying as a consortium?
I don't think there is anything for or against applicants applying as a consortium. In terms of the funding, it is from VSHSL. I'm not sure I can't remember what pot. Shannon, do you remember?
Yeah, so this is all vulnerable populations funding. There is no veterans funding in here, and so there wouldn't be a particular focus on veterans, although we welcome a focus on Black-led organizations reaching the broad need of people experiencing reentry. So as that may include veterans, that would be eligible, but there's no specific veterans funding in this funding stream.
Thank you.
And then the consortium question, our guidance is always sort of put together the best application for the work you do. And so if you're working in close connection with partners that may help you best kind of meet the scope of work within this RFP, we welcome that. And there is no particular guidelines around joint applications within this. So they are allowed, but there's no specific requirements for consortium or joint applications.
Great, thanks again.
I have a question about the equity chart.
Sure.
I noticed in the attachment, in the word attachment, well, I noticed the difference in the equity chart in the Zoom Grants online view of the chart, and then in the attachment, I think it's in attachment C. In the Zoom Grants version, there's an extra column that says practitioners. It's like board staff practitioners. And then that column is not included in the attachment C version of the chart. And I was wondering what the difference, I was wondering which one we're supposed to fill out, and if we're supposed to fill out the one with practitioners, what's the difference between Who are practitioners?
You know, that's a great question. So I would say go ahead and fill out the Zoom grants one. Practitioners is actually leftover language that I actually thought we took out.
Okay. Yes, and so for all of the questions that are received here today, they will be posted within Zoom grants. And so thank you so much for bringing that to our attention, and we will post any additional guidance or corrections if there was an error on our end. Thank you for highlighting that.
Okay, great, thanks. So you'll probably take it out, or okay, so you'll either explain or take it out.
Yeah, we'll post all the answers in Zoom grants.
Okay, thank you.
And I see there's two questions, or a question in the chat as well.
Okay, bear with me, folks, because I am dealing with...
I'm happy to read them out loud if that's helpful, Z.
That would be great. I'm dealing with tech difficulties on this side.
Welcome to our lives. So the first question is, would you consider survivors of gender-based violence, specifically those from the African American community, a priority community?
Well, we would consider those folks a priority community if there is folks within that community that are coming home. The priority community here is very specific to people reentering from incarceration.
And the second,
can I add a little bit to that? Even though I'm not from a person that's been incarcerated, can I kind of share a little bit in regards to the question she asked? You would probably help her.
Yeah, let me run through the next question actually real quick, because what I want to do is make sure we knock out the questions that we have while my colleagues are on the line. Is that okay?
Okay. Yeah, that's fine.
All right. What was the next question, Shannon?
The next question is, will the PowerPoint be uploaded on Zoom grants?
The PowerPoint will be uploaded at the link in this presentation. I believe there's also a link on the actual RFP where it will be uploaded, and that is on the King County website, so it will not be in Zoom grants.
And within the RFP document itself, there includes the link about where this will be posted. So on that front page of the RFP, there's the link where this presentation that includes the PowerPoint materials will be posted.
In the RFP, it said that King County would be seeking to fund one or more applicants. Do you have an estimate about the number of awards that will be made? It's just determined on the scope of each application.
Yeah, I think the only way I can answer that is to say that we have a whole review panel, and then we also have the director level staff here at King County that'll make that decision. So I can't say either way how many orgs at this point.
There's an additional question that asks, and this call too, I assume, would this call as well be posted? And yes, the recording that includes the visual presentation of the PowerPoint as well as this conversation will be posted as a video on YouTube, and that link will be available on our site via the VSHSL funding URL that's in the RFP.
Thanks, Shannon.
Hi, I just have a question about the funding. So even though it's a multi-year levy, so the funding is on an annual basis. And if you receive funding one year, then are you eligible to reapply in a following year?
So this, whoever is funded under this strategy will be technically funded until December 2023. So it's not really a matter of reapplying every year, although of course we look at the contracts on a yearly basis. And of course, you know, if we have an organization, the funding is tied to the contract and fulfilling the contract. So it wouldn't be a situation where you're applying from scratch again every year. We intend to fund that organization or those organizations for the all of the years of the strategy up until December 2023.
Great, thank you.
Thank you. Any more questions?
I saw in the RFP that it also mentions juvenile detention. Would that also be considered an eligible population, those who are exiting that system?
Absolutely, yes.
There's another question in the chat asking, does reentering from incarceration include both from King County jail facilities as well as state prisons?
So we are looking at King County specific. So because this is funded by money coming out of King County, we're keeping this specific to King County. So it's not going to be statewide. It would be organizations within the county.
And I'll offer one additional piece of information, which I think is Amy's question, which is that it is available for organizations within King County and anyone who is returning to King County. So folks can be incarcerated in other facilities outside of King County, and the focus being on folks that are returning to King County. So that could include from state prisons.
Absolutely, yes.
And then there's an additional question. So the 1.165 million funds are to be spread over 3 years. And yes, so they're over 3 years and 3 months. 4 years and 3 months? How does time work? 3 years. 3 years and 3 months. From October 1st, 2020 through December 31st, 2023 is the funding year. And that funding amount is across that funding timeline.
I have a quick question about the financials. You mentioned about in the questions number 13 describing the audit findings. If my organization is still new, we're only in year 2, we haven't had a financial audit, would we be disqualified from applying or being considered?
No, thank you for that question. You would not be disqualified. You can just say that in the actual application that you're new and you all don't have any findings. That's totally fine.
Okay, thank you so much.
Absolutely. Let's see. I think I can see the questions now. Is someone asking if the 1.165 is annual, or did we answer that already? In any case, the 1.165 is the amount for all of the years involved. So it's not annual. It's not going to be that amount for every year.
The other question we haven't addressed is there's a question, is there a top level or a max of funding that will be distributed to an organization?
Yeah, so again, that's not, there is no top level or max. What we're really going to be looking at is how many organizations are we going to fund, what is the request for the organizations, etc. So I would apply for what you need. And again, just because you're the lowest bid does not put you higher up on any list. So I would apply for, what you think you need.
And I noticed there's in our introductions, there's a mix of mix of people here. Some who are familiar, are familiar with Veteran Seniors and Human Services Levy funding, and some who may be new to VSHSL funding. And so I just wanted to say one piece, which is that one of the dynamics in our applications, so in our attempt to meet our many goals, we are intending to allow the most amount of flexibility. And so one of the pieces about that flexibility is that we have left a lot of sections very broad within the RFP. And so sometimes one of the things that can happen is that sometimes it makes people nervous because they feel like they might be missing something, or that the requirements may be more specific than we have outlined there. And so the RFP really has the full extent of the limitations and the eligibility. And so where there are areas where we haven't included things like minimum or maximum funding amounts or specific, the total number of orgs that we'll be funding, is to allow for creativity and a flexibility of applicants, because there are many scenarios in which folks may apply. And so we don't want to arbitrarily or kind of predetermine some of that structure to allow sort of the values and the spirit and the commitment of the levy and of this strategy specifically to play out. And we know that communities have a lot of creative ways they are doing this work. And so we are trying to allow for that. So I just wanted to say that overarching thing, because sometimes when folks have questions for things they haven't seen, I wanted to help just ground us in the kind of values of this RFP and some of the framing of the RFP. So I just want to take a moment to say that.
Thank you for that. Shannon, I'm also going to ask you to speak to this question from Jan. They ask if you could say a bit about the boilerplate and the requirements for reporting to help new organizations and those that have not had government contracts before. I have my experience, but I've been here for 5 months, so I think it might be better for you to.
Yeah, of course. Thank you. I'd be happy to. So thank you for that question, Jan. The Veteran Seniors and Human Services Levy, this iteration of the levy is, I guess, 1.5 years old now, and we have really been trying to re-envision some of the ways that government funding has historically been administered. So you will see a link in the RFP. I think it's the very first attachment to the King County boilerplate, and then the specific requirements of this funding strategy outlined in the RFP. And so for pieces like reporting or kind of monitoring, contract monitoring requirements that you may see in the boilerplate, it's really our intention to work with programs. We absolutely are available. This funding is available to programs who may not have received government funding before, who may be new, who may be small, who may be developing new programs, as well as established programs that have been working for a long time. So we are supporting a range of programs, but we do want to let folks know that we are doing a number of things to help support programs who may not have been previously able to apply for these kinds of funding. So the technical assistance, both in applying and then the technical assistance of capacity building dollars once folks, for folks who have been awarded, that help create infrastructure, that funding can potentially help folks create the systems that they need. And that our reporting requirements, particularly around our performance measurement and evaluation plans, those are intentionally separated from the contract to allow us to be in conversation with the awarded organizations to talk about their needs around evaluation and data collection and reporting. I will say, while we don't have minimum or maximum funding amounts, it is one of the levy values to be awarding programs at a level that helps support the evaluation, reporting, and other kinds of requirements that come with the Veteran Seniors and Human Services Levy. So what I will say, it is not our intention to be giving out many small grants. It is our intention to be funding programs as holistically as possible, giving the available funding to meaningfully do your work. So that is a value set, so to be able to support. So it's much more complex conversation for folks when we move forward, but we do have we will be collecting client level data with the nuances that Zaire was speaking to before, that client level data, we will be having conversations about potential impacts around any personal identifiable information for folks, and that very much is a conversation. The other thing I'll say about our boilerplate and our contract requirements are that we use a milestone-based contracting system. So what that means is that instead of having a contract where we're paying for units of service, so you get $100,000 if you serve 200 people, we have shifted to what I like to believe is a more holistic contract structure, which is paying on supporting folks, and then the action items are milestones. So those milestones might be things like hiring staff, doing community outreach, other kinds of hallmarks of actions to help establish the program that you propose in your application, and really intended to be a conversation between awarded organizations and applicants and King County, and Zaire will be the point person for that when these are awarded. So that's a little bit of a longer framework, but I think it can be helpful. We want folks to be meaningfully informed about what they're applying for and the kind of relationship they're getting into with the county. And it is always our commitment to work with communities, to lead with our equity and social justice values in having good relationships with the eventual awardees.
And I just want to say quickly that the milestone component of this, for the contracts that I've worked with so far, it has very much been, like Shannon is saying, a conversation with the funded organization. So it's not going to be just me being like, oh, okay, these are your 5 milestones. You got to do this, this, and this. It is a conversation with folks before we finalize the contract to say, hey, what are the things that you see yourself intending to accomplish in a certain amount of time? Does this seem like a doable milestone? It's a conversation between the county and the organizations that are being funded. So you can anticipate that you won't be surprised by the contract that you see because we'll have spoken about it beforehand.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
In regards to, so one of the questions that I have is, because I know that the funding is for people that are coming out, would that also include people coming out of the King County system pertaining to mental health court?
That is a great question. If those folks have been formerly incarcerated or have had system involvement that includes arrest or anything along the lines of this RFP, then yes, absolutely.
Okay, and then the other question is, so when it comes to the funding piece, and we, I think it's 4 years, right?
Like
I just want to make sure. 3 years, okay.
It's
so
like
say
if a change, yes.
Okay, so if a person, say for example, apply for 100,000, is that 100,000 per the whole entire program, or and if it is, are they breaking that down in a sense of quarters, so to speak, in that 100,000? Because I know that you guys wanted us to have it where that first year we give you our kind of like our SMART, the 16th and all that other stuff.
That's a great, is it okay if I jump in on this one, Zaire?
Please.
So that's a great question. It is a piece that is often confusing in applications, so I'm really glad you asked it. So there are 2 places that we ask for sort of specific numbers. In the application, I believe it's under the summary tab. So there's sort of, as you go into Zoom grants, you'll see there's several tabs of where you specifically answer the questions. And then it is actually attachment A that has the summary information. And so in there, we are asking for the total amount you are asking across the October 1st, 2020 through December 31st, 2023 award period. So in there, and it should clearly instruct that, but just to say now, there we're asking for how much you're asking for in total across all 3 years and change. And then for the budget, we are asking you to submit what you anticipate to be an average budget for 1 year. So we're asking you only to submit a proposed 1-year budget. And I will say that that budget is not something that, if awarded, you would be locked to it for all time. We know that particularly as award amounts may differ from requested amounts, or as program models evolve, we will work with folks to amend budgets. And that we know there are sometimes situations, if folks are especially growing or establishing a program, where you may have a budget that is for the kind of ramp up period, and then you may have a budget for when the program is established. But we ask ask that you do your best to submit a average 1-year budget in your proposal. So basically a 1-year budget, and then in the summary information, the total amount you're requesting.
Okay, so that makes sense. Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you.
May I ask, related to just the last question, if we can propose services for folks coming out of mental health court, would we be allowed to propose services for folks coming out of King County Drug Court?
Yeah, again, I think the criteria is that these folks meet the definition of reentering. And so if they have been system involved, either from arrest to incarceration, then yes.
Thank you.
Sure. I do not see a document with the full RFP, only links to each part. I'm not sure how to pronounce your name. Do you want to hop on from ULMS? Is it Laureen? Okay, so Zoom Grants should have a link to the full application. I believe it's the last attachment. Is that what you're looking at? No audio. Okay, no worries. I see you typing. Are you in Zoom Grants now? Okay, so on the attachments, it should be the last attachment. So it goes from A to, I think, G. The last attachment should say RFP Reentry Spanning Supports. Do you see that? Okay, great. So everyone who wants to find the full RFP, if you go on Zoom Grants and you sign in, create an account, etc., if you look at the attachments go from A to G, and the very last attachment is the full RFP. Anybody else have questions?
Well, I want to say thank you all. I have another meeting to run to, but I thank you so much for this presentation, and thank you for answering my questions. And then I'll email you as well.
All right, right on. Thank you for joining. Appreciate your presence, and I'll look for your email, and I will send you the info.
Thank you. Have a blessed day.
You too. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Anyone else with questions? All right, questions going once. Questions going twice. Questions going 3 times. Thank you, Laureen. I hope I'm pronouncing your name right. All right, everyone. We technically have until 11:30, but seems like there aren't any more questions. Kiki, go for it. You have a question?
It looks like Kiki's asking about the capacity building funds, which I'm going to guess what your question is, Kiki, and let me know if it's not correct, which is in the funding table, you'll see 2 different funding lines. One is the base funding from the vulnerable populations portion of the levy, and one is technical assistance, perfect, and capacity building funds. And in the technical, The funding line that is technical assistance capacity building funds is only available to programs who meet the small program criteria of under 20 FTE and 40 million, or I'm sorry, $4 million in the previous budget, the budget in the previous year. And so that is to help outline and provide clarity around those funding sources. In the summary table A, there are questions specifically about meeting the criteria for the small organization for technical assistance capacity building. So if for folks that are that believe they meet that criteria and are interested in being considered for that portion of the funds, please complete that section. So that's clearly outlined, and that I think I almost very closely use the same language that's in there. So under the summary questions, please make sure you complete all of those questions, and that will help us balance the allocation of our funds across different program types. So that's hopefully to help clarify that, but the only action for applicants that need to take is to complete the summary questions.
I have a question. This is Barbara Miller from DESC. We don't qualify as a lead organization for this particular initiative, but we would like to offer our expertise in housing and behavioral health to perhaps a small organization that may need some technical assistance around those issues. So would we be considered part of that technical assistance funding if we were to do some capacity building with smaller organizations around those issues?
That is an interesting question, and I'm going to go ahead and ask Shannon, because I'm not sure.
Yeah, so I can see how you got there. So the technical assistance capacity building for applicants are available to previously county contracted technical assistance providers, and the technical assistance, it's a challenge when we use all the same words to mean different things. Technical assistance and capacity building funds that are embedded within the RFP are funds that the county is awarding directly to small organizations, I guess allocating to small organizations. So if an organization was in a position where they didn't feel like they met the base requirements but wanted to partner with an organization in their application as part of applying, of being in a position to support a cohort application, we would encourage that. But none of the technical assistance capacity building dollars within here are available for outside organizations to be providing technical assistance within this grant.
Okay, thank you.
So then with the capacity building funds for each year, for organizations that are larger and don't meet the small organization eligibility requirements, then essentially it's that first line, just the vulnerable populations, that's the total amount that we should be considering as available for those larger organizations. Looks like 815,000 for the total 3-year period.
Correct.
All right, we got any more questions?
I just wanted to say thank you, Zahir and everyone in DOC, DCH, for giving us the opportunity to listen to this and, and have the opportunity to look for this funding that really is in a great need for the, the Black community, the reentry community, as well as, small organizations such as Arms Around You that's, really looking for funding. So thank you.
Thank you for joining us. Appreciate it. All right, any more questions? Well, if folks do have questions again after this call, email me. I will not be emailing you back, but I will collect those questions and put them in the library tab on Zoom Grants so that everyone can see them. So if you have them down the line, you can expect to see them on Zoom Grants at some point. And if there are no other questions, then I think we can all hop off the call. I'm going to go questions going once again. Going twice. Going 3 times. Cool. Well, I appreciate you all joining us. I do hope to see some applications from folks on Zoom Grants. You have a great day too. Yeah, good luck to everyone. And I know this is a critical time for these funds, so I do wish everyone the best of luck, and I hope to see your applications come across the screen. Shannon, do you have anything else to close with?
No, that's it. Thank you so much, Zaire. Great job, and thank you everyone for joining us.
All right, thanks everybody.